Greetings to all of you listening, to those of you who are chasing their bliss, and to those who have found it and are living it every day. It's Tuesday, December 26th, 2023, and this is Fortell's Fortune Told. I'm your host, Fortell. This is a show about music and musicians, songwriting and performing, and the stories of real people investing themselves into this art form because it's who they are. Today's thoughts are about our guest Gracelyn, who can be classified as a young and up-and-coming artist out of Hollywood, California. Yet, in my time with her, has proven to be much more mature beyond her limited amount of years on Earth, and in her experiences, but also in her demeanor. Today we feature a song off of her latest album. The song is called Salt. And it's probably wrongfully said to encapsulate this, but is a song about rebirth. It's a beautiful song. And please do listen through to the end of the podcast to listen to the whole song presented at the end. It's got me and my family really just singing and pondering and thinking about rebirth and songs about rebirth. So I come from a train of thought in which how one handles the unknown in life greatly defines you as a human. There are a lot of thoughts about this subject, which have led to many different belief systems, philosophies, religions, truths, myths, cultures, institutions, and on and on and on. I'm not here to judge anyone's landing spot for some of the biggest unknowns of the human experience, but rather observe and consider them and how these thoughts have manifested and landed into the modern lexicon of songs I've encountered during my humbling 50 years as an American. One of the great thinkers I've encountered, Joseph Campbell, said over a period of time, the repeated confrontation with the quote-unquote dragon leads to the growing realization that what was once believed to be impossible is now possible. After facing the unknown and defeating the dragon, the hero experiences a psychological death and rebirth. The death of an old aspect of one's self and the birth of a new and more capable self. Some strong words, some really powerful things to consider today's episode. And that's how powerful this artist is today, Gracelyn, and her song, Salt. But consider these other songs in the American lexicon. For instance, starting with Bruce Springsteen's Atlantic City. Everything dies, baby, that's a fact. But maybe everything that dies someday comes back. Put your makeup on, fix your hair up pretty, and meet me tonight in Atlantic City. Very strong, meaningful, bomb-dropping words. And then, let's go out, babe. Bruce Springsteen. What about Joan Osborne's One of Us? Where she contemplates, what if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us. Just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home. Very profound to think of that and anthropomorphize God in that way by Joan. Or consider Iris DeMint's Let the Mystery Be. Some say once you're gone forever. And some say you're going to come back. Some say you'll rest in the arms of a Savior if in sinful ways you lack. Some say that they're coming back in a garden, a bunch of carrots and little sweet peas. I think I'll just let the mystery be. And then in pondering this podcast, I thought of Dylan Thompson's "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night," a very famous poem by Dylan Thompson, and also was turned into a composition in which I performed part of in an orchestra. Actually, it was part of the marching band, the Lighthouse Brigade, which we performed in concert competitions, and we often won with this piece. But Dylan says to fight this and do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Spotlight Songwriting. Today, I am so excited. I have for you 5 great tips for songwriting. So these are just some 5 generalizations that I think would help maybe frame your mindset into writing a wonderful song, or maybe taking a song you're working on and bringing it to the next level. So number 5, write beyond your main instrument. So if you are a guitar player, think about what a piano would sound like. Think about what a violin might add to that song. Think about what the drums are needing to do at certain points, or what that bass line needs to bring when it needs to bring. Or maybe you're a bass player and you need to think about what the lead singer is going to be doing. What have you. Think about something beyond your main instrument. The next one is know your strengths and weaknesses as a songwriter. Because after a while, your strengths and weaknesses will start to emerge. Use this as a filter, as a template, or as a screening process for yourself before you would ever consider releasing a song to the public or to some kind of critical institution. Number 3, try different strategies. Think of something new. Think out of the box, as they say. If you normally go to a catchy chorus and you lean on that, try making a non-lyrical chorus. Try doing only verse and make the chorus only instrumental. See what that does. So make sure you try different ideas, different elements in your song creation process. Number 2 is try all ideas. Don't ever limit yourself. Expand rhythmically, melodically, genrically, if that's a word. Think about a genre that you're not necessarily associated with and try to write a song in that feeling. Or maybe take a song that's in your normal genre, but make it into that other genre's feeling just enough where it changes it. But do not limit yourself. Try all ideas. And lastly, my last songwriting tip for today is lyrics need to be correct for the song. They don't necessarily need to rhyme. And they don't necessarily need to make sense. And they don't need to win some kind of Pulitzer Prize. They need to be correct for the song. So don't limit yourself lyrically by saying, oh, what's going to rhyme with Bronco? Sturgill Simpson reference out there. But he found a way around that, actually, if you know the reference I'm making. But lyrics need to be correct for the song. They don't necessarily need to rhyme. And with that, I hope those 5 ideas will help you in your songwriting process. Foretells friends. So Gracelyn is a singer, songwriter, musician out of Hollywood, California. She sang at the Viper Room and the Federal Bar and the Good Night. And Gracelyn's debut album, Premonition, boasts a unique blend of pop and dance/electronic influence and was released this year. Let's welcome Gracelyn.
Thank you.
And I want to mention we are here at Mountain Cowboy Brewing Company for this recording of this podcast. Gracelyn, thank you so much for joining us. Can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody, and thank you, Mark, again for having me. My name is Gracelyn. I am a singer-songwriter, originally from Denver. I moved out to Los Angeles around 2016, a week after I graduated high school, with a little bit of a dream, and ever since then, I've just been trying to pursue recording music and writing music and kind of seeing where that leads me. And so it led me to this podcast, and I'm really grateful to be here and just talk about music too, so thank you.
Awesome. Well, we're so happy, and it's an honor for us to have you here.
Yeah.
I just want to let the audience know how we met. So your grandfather is actually the house drummer here at Mountain Cowboy for our open mic that we have the second and fourth Thursday of every month. And through meeting Ken, I met you, and I had the honor of performing with you here. We did the classic Baudelaire Bryant, the Bryant family song, Love Hurts.
I love that song.
And we did the Graham Parsons, Emmylou Harris version,
So
which
good.
I will capture. I mean, I'm so glad we have video of that.
We need to do it
there's
again.
so many performances. We do.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
That was so beautiful.
Yes.
And your harmonies were so spot on.
Thank you.
And all the comments that are on the post are all about your harmonies.
Aw, thank you.
But it was a pleasure. And so we met that way. But since then, I've listened to your album. When was your album Premonition released? When exactly?
It was released November 11th.
November 11th, so it's very recent.
Yes,
and that feels right.
Yes.
You have a tremendous amount of listeners on Spotify, and rightfully so.
Yes, thank
your
you.
music is ethereal. It has that EDM style, but it's unique. And your singing style is beautiful and unique as well. So I think it leads to a lot of just pleasantness in an audio situation, which is what you're looking for when you have music. But what inspired you, Gracelyn, to become a musician? Do you have early memories, or is there something that is there a trigger point or something?
I love that question because it's hard. My family, I grew up, listening to music. My dad was a worship leader in the church. He did Colorado Idol too 1 year. So I remember seeing him singing on the news, on TV. And I think at that moment I was like, oh my gosh, I want to express myself in that way too. I want to, find, the music and start singing. And also just in my entire family, we've loved music, gone to, concerts at Red Rocks when I was young. So having those kind of experiences, I'm like, I want to perform at Red Rocks. I want to do that too. I'm like, I want to feel that rush as well. And so I think just being around my family, they've inspired me so much to just pursue it and try to, see it through. So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. So with that, do you remember some of those performers at Red Rocks, or do you have any major influences?
Oh, yes. I mean, as far as major influences, I think the female vocalists, the powerhouses throughout the years, Celine Dion, Whitney Houston. I mean, growing up listening to those powerhouse women, it just made me really, try to find my voice too. Kelly Clarkson, Pink. I mean, I think like the female, the female artists were really, really inspirational throughout my life. And so, yeah, I'm like,
awesome.
Either way, I'm like,
so have you been in other musical ventures besides your solo act? Have you done something before this, or is this okay?
Yeah, so I've done a little bit of everything. I have worked with an 80s cover band. I have done like a girls group, quartet style, like singing. I've done a little bit of everything. I've done background vocals for, multiple friend artists, and also done my own music too. So that's the beauty of music, is the collaborations. You can kind of go any which way, and that's the fun part of it too. So.
And that's the 80s band, is it not?
Yes, and
I
that's
know you
the
don't want to
80s.
name drop,
Oh yeah,
I'm just
that
saying.
80s band. No, I'll name drop them any day. That 80s band, yes,
Of
they're
course.
so good. Yes, and that was such a fun moment too. But yeah, so
Awesome.
I didn't answer your question though, as far as Red Rocks, because
Yes, sure.
oh my gosh, there were a ton of incredible artists that I've seen there. But I think like the number one probably would be One Republic. Oh my gosh, incredible. I've seen them a few times, and at Red Rocks it was just incredible. And then also on the EDM side, if you've ever gone to any EDM shows at Red Rocks, it is life-changing.
Yes.
It will, like, hearing it ring in the rocks and stuff
the
too,
peaks
it's
are
like,
so
oh
high.
my gosh, you
Yes.
feel it in your soul, like, you feel it in your bones. So I just love Red Rocks for that too.
I
Like,
can
I didn't
see how
answer your
that-
question.
No, thank
so,
you. I
like,
can
it
see how
needed
that
a moment.
style is
Yeah.
influenced into your music, and that's a good transition.
Yes, yeah.
Because next I want to talk about your album,
Yeah.
Premonition.
Yes.
So, goodness. So, the first song, let's go right into the first song, Sabotage. So, when I write songs about personal experiences, maybe about other people's personal experiences, or about my own imagined experiences for myself or for others. So it really does, it can be about something real, it could be something about someone else's real, or it could just be completely unique. But when I heard this song, it made me ask that question. It introduces your unique singing style, which I think is this blending. You have such a fluid flow to how you sneakily articulate words and how you sneakily are accurate with your notes. You don't hit that note exactly right and cute. You blur into it, and it creates such a beautiful, unique way of singing. So all of those thoughts into Sabotage, what does that make you think of when I said all of that?
Well, I love that, and thank you so much
you're welcome.
I mean, that is so awesome too. I think, I don't know, it's so hard with Sabotage because there's a lot in there too of like just emotional depth, like who am I writing it for, and what is that emotional like appeal for it too. But it's just hard. I feel like, I don't know, it's just inspiring to just kind of take whatever you can from anything and kind of, I don't know, learn from that too. But can you rephrase the question one more
Sure.
time too?
Well,
yeah,
and it's also just about premonition. Let's just talk about
right.
So personal experiences
Sabotage.
versus other people's experiences
Right.
versus imagined experiences.
Yeah.
Premonition and Sabotage made me think of it, but is premonition you talking about your life? Is it talking about someone else's life? Is it both those things, or is it imagined? What do
It's
you-
definitely like a little bit of both, I think like the concept definitely started from having that personal experience, having that hurt, whether it be hurt or joy or whatever the emotion is. I think that kind of triggered like, okay, let me write about this, let me really take this experience and see if I can express myself in the proper way, too. So
Well, the fact that you've experienced these emotions, I think, is quite evident in
Yeah.
your songwriting.
Thank you.
It really does come out that this was very real
Thank
and
you.
strong experiences. Whether I didn't know if they were personal or not,
Yeah,
but you could
yeah.
tell that you yourself had experienced something similar.
Yes.
Which kind of leads to sobriety, which is, that is like a chiming. It starts with these bell chord kind of sounding chords. Like there's this moment of something happening, something profound happening.
Yeah.
You've got the low beat that comes in. There's this fluttering harmonies. Drink your gin and replace what's left of us.
Yeah.
It's a strong statement of someone going through struggles of filling voids with the
the
demon
other
that is that.
vices,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, and that's hard too.
So I take it that was one of those songs that is declaring those bells, those chimes, that this has happened, that this is a serious thing.
That's how I feel about it too. It's hard too because, like, I don't know, with my music and stuff, I was able to process a lot throughout the time. So it took me a little bit of time to write those, you know, too. And so, like, even the year 2, coming back to that song, or year 3, I have to come back in a different angle sometimes. And it's hard, you know, because you're like, you know, maybe I can express this emotion a little bit deeper in a way that might not be similar to what I actually went through, but maybe let me lean into like the emotion more and play a little bit with that. Right, paint the picture a little bit more,
a little
too.
bit brighter or darker, considering what you're
So
getting.
maybe it's not necessarily all accurate to my life, but I definitely, you know, can bend those, or, you know, do what I can to move.
Well, that leads me to a question before we get to the next song, but just about how you write your music. And I asked you this before the podcast, but do you write all of your own parts? And do you, is your vision the sole vision behind these songs?
Yes, I do write my own parts, especially those background parts. It was a struggle for me at first, to be honest with you. And I don't know, I've done a lot of background work with other people too. So being on the back end, not totally singing that melody, but doing like harmony and hearing those little parts, like through that experience, it kind of helped me find my own little, you know, spots and parts here and there and stuff too. So I think like having that collaboration was really cool too. Being like the background singer, being the harmony, hearing, you know, not necessarily that first part, but hearing all the other parts too. It's really fascinating, you know. It's like that part I love about it. I'm like,
and that's how I can tell that you are definitely someone who's good at harmonizing with others as well, because you have to hear the beauty in those background parts as well.
Yes, you have to hear all the intricate parts, but it takes time, and I still am not getting the whole ad-lib part. You know, I still have to learn and try to find, you know, different vowels, different sounds, different, like, you know, it's hard to kind of just try to find those too that make it unique and make your sound you too. So
well, it sounds like you went on a very lengthy journey to go through premonition and to do that.
Yes.
And let's dive back into it
Yeah.
with Solitaire. So another S song. All of them are S songs.
Yes.
So Solitaire.
Yes.
And this is suggesting someone else stick to a solo act, a solo game.
Right.
There's water droplets in the beginning, similar to water, not exact water, but
I love that.
music that gives you this earthy, kind of watery feel. And you talk about getting tied your heart to a string, and of course the Ace of Spades versus the Queen of Broken Hearts.
Yeah.
That dueling nature of Solitaire. But talk about that song and your inspiration behind that.
Yeah, that song was really fun. And I have one line in Sabotage too, where it's like, if you play your cards right. And so I kind of wanted to play on that a little bit too, and bring the whole piece like together in a kind of more congruent thing. So Solitaire just seemed like, okay, let's make this more about the game and the dice and the, you know, the cards, and make it more like play on those kind of things with it. But it's also just a more like I'm standing up for myself. It's a little bit more like, you're not gonna take, like, you know, you're not gonna take me out. You're not gonna try and manipulate my life. Like, you know, it's a little more of a stance that way too, of like, okay, you know, I'm here, you know, too. So it's fun to make those songs that are a little different, that are a little more edgy. It shows a little more of like my attitude, I guess. But
Yes.
it's fun though. It's
empowering,
fun, you know.
for sure.
It's empowering. Yeah, it's super empowering. Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
this leads to the next song, which is the song we feature on the podcast, Salt. Wow. I mean, just wow. It is a beautiful piano part. Amazing lead vocals, amazing harmonies, amazing lyrics. It's all about starting over. I think it's something is the hardest part of any death, rebirth situation is that beginning of the new. And it's so beautifully written for what it was, for what it's worth, even if we have to start all over. You mix the vocal line and the chorus near the end into this beautiful finish where you say, I don't want to forget. Spare me, I don't think my heart can take it. Oops, I wrote it down wrong.
No, it's okay.
One has looked before, or no.
I think it's one last look.
One
right?
last look before we erase it.
You had it. Yeah, that was it.
It says last. And
One last.
So
Yes.
I don't want to forget it. Spare me. I don't think my heart can take it. One last look before we erase it.
Yes, erase it. Right.
Because you're looking back at you're recognizing that it is over.
Yeah.
It does have to start anew, and it does have to begin again. Wow. I mean, like I said, just if this one does not launch you into just a world of success, there's something wrong with our industry. It is so beautiful. I could see it in any movie, any television show.
Good.
I listen to it. My kids love it. Talk about Salt.
Yes, thank you so much. And that one for me is my favorite off of my EP. I just think there was a layer of depth that I wanted to bring to all the songs that I had recorded. And actually, Salt, was the last song that I wrote. So it was a more fresh song as far as lyrics and melody. But I actually wrote it for my mom, and it's actually a more of a grief aspect of it. And it actually just fit perfectly like into the story too. So I was like, let's just put it in there. Let's add that layer too. But it's more just finally like understanding grief and that aspect of it too, and just being like, okay, there's nothing I can do now, you know? So it's like kind of just writing that more about.
So it's a overtaking of grief overtaking you,
yes.
and you giving into grief.
Right, yeah.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
And it's on, I know the story of your mom, so I think it's
right.
it's beautiful and wonderful that that song is about her.
Thank you.
That, like I said, is tremendous.
Yeah, thank you
Tremendous.
so much.
Everyone, please check out that song. If nothing else, please listen to Salt.
Thank you
off
so
of
much.
Premonition.
Thank you.
But Signal's also ethereal. The pop beat could live literally in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s.
Yes,
It literally could live in any one of those decades. The harmonies. Do you have a male accompaniment in there? Is it just you going really low at a certain point?
It might be me going low.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
at some point, or
You
maybe
actually have
his
quite a range
effects
there.
or something.
Oh, okay,
yeah, it might be
an
his
octave-
effects.
an
Yeah,
octave
you know,
thing,
like an
okay.
octave. Yeah.
Because I heard that lower tone.
Yeah, in there too. Yeah, I think it might be. I think I know exactly what part too.
And then the finding peace in life, easier said than done.
Yes.
I like
Yes,
that
easier said than
statement
done.
as well in Signals. But talk about Signals.
Yeah, Signals was so fun too. It's hard too because for that one, I definitely wanted like, you know, a final piece for that, like ending of the story. So I kind of took everybody through my heartbreak and, you know, the grief part of it. But now I kind of needed to make a stand, make one final statement of like, here I am, you know, I am going to get through all these, you know, trials and tribulations and get through life. So it was more just like that final piece, that final like say to kind of complete the story. So,
Well,
yeah.
it's a brilliant album.
Thank you.
Check it out. It just was released in November here.
Yes, thank you
It's called
so much.
Premonition. The name's Gracelyn.
Thank you.
Gracelyn, you also have some singles out there, Leo Rising and Exothermic. Do you want to talk about those singles?
Yeah, I mean, I love those too. They're definitely a totally different genre of music.
Noticed, yes.
So one is R&B and then another one is more EDM. So I definitely want to play with all of the different genres. You will be hearing jazz from me and multiple different genres. I don't want to be confined or like, you know, limited to one pop sound or one. So I love Leo Rising and those other ones for the fact that they are kind of different. They are kind of a different genre. Kind of, you never know what kind of sound you're going to get from me. So I'm like, I kind of like that. It's a little bit of a surprise, you know?
That's awesome. You got to
Like,
keep the
yeah.
audience guessing.
Right.
And as you evolve, I'm sure you want to do different
Yes.
things too. So
Yes.
it's awesome
Yes.
to see this captured in your work.
Yes.
So just the last few couple questions for you. Do you have any upcoming gigs you'd like to promote?
Yes, I actually have the Winter Walkabout Music Showcase in Longmont, and I believe that's going to be February 3rd. And my time is 8 p.m. at the, what is the?
The Firehouse Arts Center.
Thank you, the Firehouse Art Center. So I'm so excited
Downtown
for that
Longmont,
gig.
Colorado.
And you've performed there,
I
correct?
have played
Yeah.
at the Firehouse Arts Center. One of the
Yes.
Firehouse songwriters. Actually, there's a group of us that get together, and
Which is
Angel
incredible.
runs that. And,
That's so awesome.
You know a few others, Jonathan through that group.
Right.
But the Winter Walkabout is a really unique time in Longmont, Colorado, where you can buy a ticket and then travel from venue to venue, and that ticket gets you in throughout the whole weekend to various different artists. It's I have not been accepted to be a part of that yet, so it's very much an honor for Gracelyn to be accepted for that. And it'll be great to hear her on February 3rd there at the Firehouse Arts Center.
Yes, I'm excited. So I'm really, hoping that'll be just fun. And I didn't know you bought the ticket and you could go to the entire thing. So
that's kind of the
good
deal.
for me to know
like
that.
A festival, yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. Well, thanks for staying. So, this is one of those things where we're real people doing this.
Yeah.
We're people who struggle with all the struggles of life.
Yeah.
And yet we have went down this journey to do this music because it's who we are, and it's something that we need to do as part of being a human, really. So, as my last question, what advice do you have for someone who is maybe just starting out doing this for the first time, or maybe is just getting on the way and they're wondering about the journey they've taken, or they're undertaking, or they're about to go on?
Right.
Any advice for anybody out there doing that?
Yeah, I would say no judgment. Just understand that there's no strategy or right way to do this. Yes, maybe there's, some, advice or some, stuff you can look into, but just start it. Just do it. Just don't judge yourself, and just kind of play with, taking the judgment out of it. That's what I would say, is just don't judge yourself. Let yourself, explore those expressive moments, and don't hate yourself for it. Let yourself live and enjoy it, I don't know. Thank you. Thank you so much. I loved it.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Foretel's Fortune Told. I want to thank you so very much, as I certainly appreciate y'all listening today. And feel free to interact more at foretelmusic.com. But for now, I'll send you into the sunset with Gracelyn's song, Salt. And I hope your journey is as expected.
Before